In 1942, a film that's really gone down in the annals of one of the greats was made, and it was written, directed, produced and starred none other than a royal favourite. But it almost didn't hit the cinema screens, and it was all down to the King, who decided in fact that this was exactly what the British public wanted to see. Of course, there was a royal connection. Let me explain. Morning, lovely to see you. You're right today. Yes, not bad, thank you. Yes. Now, let me just tell you about this particular man because, well, we'll have a wave. It's gorgeous down here, isn't it? This is the lock. All of the, I never know. I always get told off. Is it narrow boats or canal boats? I don't know. Either way, I think people who stay on them are very brave. Many people who watch this channel know I can't swim, so I get quite nervous near water. And even just going up and down on them, you think, oh, no, what's happening? I might as well sit there with like 4 life jackets on, terrified up and down. It's not good, is it? It's not a good look. Back as ever to your royal story. Now this, as I say, is an amazing story when you think, because they were one of the royal favourites. We're talking, of course, about the brilliant Sir Noël Coward. He was so revered by the royal family that our late and wonderful Queen Mother unveiled a statue of him at the Theatre Royal Drury Lane in his honour, because he'd been so successful there, as he had amongst many theatres around the world. Noël Coward was one of those people that really just, well, he signified, didn't he, an era, the smoking jacket, the cigarette, the air of aloofness, the Savoy cocktail hour, all of those. There were quite a few, weren't they? Terence Rattigan, Ivan Novello, those type of characters, which of course lent themselves incredibly well to the British monarchy. But in 1942, Sir Noël Coward, or Noel Coward as he was then, was riding high. Lots and lots of Broadway and Western successes. A big hit, of course, also on radio, and now really breaking into films, which wasn't necessarily his genre. But as he become very, very friendly with the British monarchy, particularly Lord Louis Mountbatten. Now, Lord Louis Mountbatten, of course, was one of those people that was a brilliant raconteur, a definite mover and shaker within inside the British monarchy. And Noël Coward and Louis, as I say, formed a very good friendship. So much so that they decided, or Noël decided at least, that his story of a particular era in his career should be told on the big screen. And so it was. Friendship developed, of course. Noël Coward decided that the Battle of Crete, which was a backdrop to, of course, Lord Louis Mountbatten's story, would make a perfect movie. And so it went into production. Big star names: Celia Johnson, John Mills, Sir Richard Attenborough, and Noël starring in the main role himself, naturally. And this was all backed by the Ministry of Defence. Now what we would call a bit of a budget, given to them to try and help it, as it were. What's interesting then is that they made the movie, and a lot of people thought this is wonderful, it could be great, and then a lot of people felt that it was not the right tone or right time to put out into British cinemas. It was seen so much more than a movie, more of a propaganda film. Now, as you can imagine, a lot hindered on this because a lot of money had been spent on it. In fact, a lot of special effects. And In Which We Serve really shows just how diverse and what a great character actor Noël Coward could have been had he moved away from those particular roles of the daring Western musicals and stuff like that. And as I say, Richard Attenborough told me it was a marvellous time to work with somebody who was so talented, who wrote, produced, arranged and starred in it, and apparently took detail on every single facet of the movie. Now, what happened was, as the movie got completed, there was a problem. And the problem was they didn't want to put it into cinemas. So Lord Louis Mountbatten stepped forward himself and contacted His Majesty the King, his cousin, of course, King George, and said, could he do anything? And it was only at the intervention, that's right, the intervention of His Majesty the King, that the movie finally hit the British box office screens. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. It became a mega box office success, so much so that when it was released over in the United States, it also helped convince certain presidents that it might be a good idea to get involved in the war effort over here in the United Kingdom. Moving forward even further, it took so much money that they didn't know what to do with it, because now it repaid itself back to the Ministry of Defence. It was regularly screened at Windsor Castle for, of course, the late Queen Mother and the very young princesses, Princess Elizabeth and Princess Margaret, to give them an idea of the history of course, Lord Louis. As I say, he remained a pivotal part in many people's lives within the royal family, none more so than our present king, His Majesty the King, King Charles III. Obviously, we know what happened on that terrible day and his extinguishing of life, of course, but apparently he shaped King Charles the way he is today, and both revered each other and were the very best of friends. So next time you want to watch a real movie with a real backdrop and of course a royal connection, we have our late king, King George, to thank for the fact that it finally hit the big screen. And what a movie it truly is. Neil Sean in the very heart of Yorkshire.